Hello and welcome to the Skycast. It's Fantasy Football Scouts Sky Fantasy Football version of the regular Scoutcast. Game week 49 is still going on. Game week 50 is coming up, and transfers are either completely gone or down to their bare bones. My name is Joe, and today I'm joined by Luke to look at our transfers and captain plans for game week 50. Luke, how are you?
I'm all right. I'm okay. Last night was obviously Manchester United Southampton. I had the default Fernandez in the A team as captain, so not too bad of a return. And I had Anthony Martial in my B team as captain, which I was very happy with. So
Yeah.
feeling good after that one. Not quite as good as a certain someone who probably can't wait to get a story about another captain off of his off
Yeah,
his
okay,
mind.
yeah. No, it's not about my B. It's not about my A team. It's about my B team. But more of that shortly. We'll have a look at your teams first in a bit of detail because we've got your teams up on the screen. So for the benefit of those listening to the podcast, just remind me again. Your A team, is that the one with Salah in, or is
That's
what?
the one with Salah in, yeah.
Okay, so your A team has Edison, Gomez, Van Dijk, the villain Sionju, who is now red carded and will not play again this season. De Bruyne, St Maximum, Sarr, Lo Celso from Spurs, Fernandez. I always say him with a surprise that he's there, but nevertheless, he does look like Spurs' best player at times. And then you've got Salah and Jimenez up front, and then in your B team, some changes, notable changes there. Edison, Van Dijk, Aurier. Now Aurier's brother sadly passed away this week, so as far as we know, the Aurier has been offered compassionate leave, quite rightly by Spurs, and so I would say it's possible that he won't be playing again the rest of the season, but we'll obviously a situation to monitor. Alexander Arnold, you've got there. De Bruyne, Foden, Sarr, Fernandez, and then up front in a 3-4-3, Martial. And he has done ever so well for you. Calvert-Lewin, who hasn't done ever so well. And then Jimenez there. So, first of all, what's the state of play in your teams, your A team and your B team? What rank are they, and what are the rank ambitions for them?
Well, the A team is literally just outside the top 1K. I'm hoping I can get there, but obviously only have that one swap left, which has been for a number of weeks now, really holding me back from
Yeah.
some of the moves I want to make, and obviously then seeing those players get points. It's been hard to take, but I feel like I've done kind of the right thing by just continuing to hold it because, as you can see already now, the Soyuncu thing that's happened, where he's not going to play in the A team. In the B team now, you just mentioned the unfortunate Aurier thing.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously far more unfortunate for him than it is for me. But at the end of the day, that's still another player there, and I've only
Yeah.
got one swap, so I don't know what's going on there. So it is also not a sort of a power position I really wanted to use a swap on because obviously that doesn't really scream of a high ceiling. Plus, I'm maxed out on budget on both teams, so essentially it's can I swap Soyuncu to a 6.2 million defender where we're scraping the barrel here with.
Yeah.
I mean, luckily, I say luckily, I still don't know if I'm going to do it. If Reece James starts tonight for Chelsea, he is exactly 6.2 million. So I don't have a Chelsea player. I could bring him in and captain him against Norwich, where you would have thought if he starts, he's probably likely to get some points in that game, despite Chelsea not looking great last week.
That's a good move.
The problem is then after that, Chelsea's two games don't scream points to me, where he's also not a nailed-on player. And then I have to think, well, I'm throwing away the opportunity to get the likes of David Silva, as we've discussed numerous times, Sterling, all the other players that could comfortably outscore him since. So I have a real dilemma on my hand for the teammate. I'm at the moment, I'm edging towards, I'm going to look at the lineup, and I'm going to make a decision then. But even if I see Reece James in it, there's a strong chance I'm just going to have to ignore that game and be very, very scared that Chelsea don't win 4 or 5-0 with Pulisic and all the like going mad. Which I think we were talking a little bit off stream. I think the reason why my season's not gone particularly well this time compared to last is I've kind of fallen into the trap of following the pattern of last season, whereas last season, a lot of the times on these individual days where I didn't particularly want a player, but they were captain days and other people would cover them. They didn't really do anything last season at all. I would bring the players in, they wouldn't really do much. I thought there's so many of these days. Next season, I'm not going to waste my transfers on these days. I'm just going to hope that they don't do anything and sort of focus them on more productive players that are actually good. And this season, it's really not worked. Nearly every day that I can think of where it's like you could have a captain, the most popular captain has ended up doing very, very well. And even since the restart, the likes of Aubameyang, for example, on individual days went crazy. And it's just been a recurring theme. So it's a lesson learned for me, really. I have been saying you have to be in it to win it most of the time, and then not backing myself with the same, or not even having the transfers to do it. So I think next season I need to find that balance, and it's always the skill, isn't it, of when to use a transfer, when not. But a lesson for next season for me anyway. And I'm in a difficult position now. But at the end of the day, if I can get top 1K, I'll kind of well, I won't be happy, but it's better than being outside it, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's respectability, isn't it? Definitely there. And also with those, going for those high impact players, one thing I try and do, which is spill over a bit from FPL, is getting a player that actually got good fixtures for quite some time. You're using that logic there. So you look at, say, Reece James would be a fantastic asset to bring in, but then again he's got terrible remaining fixture after that, so perhaps not. But then again, it does give you that captaincy. I was just looking while we're talking as well, because a player I'm considering bringing in would be a Burnley defender. I do not have any coverage from Burnley's single match day, which is in game week 50 on the Saturday, which is Norwich against Burnley. I don't have any Burnley in my A team, and I was just having a look at the prices. Now I know some for you're exactly on 6.2 as a replacement for Sionju.
Yes.
So for that one, if we somehow thought that Long, the very cheap Burnley defender, was playing, he is 6.2, but others who have a tiny bit more might consider, for example, Charlie Taylor at 7.2, and Tarkowski if you've got a bit more at 7.8. I think these could be good options if you're looking at getting a captain for a single match day, plus you've got a player, because they play Burnley, play Norwich, and then they play Brighton. So these are two great fixtures, and so that's an example of a kind of move I would consider there. But obviously in your situation, because of 6.2 is quite restrictive.
I mean, that is thoroughly boring, but probably some correct play there, Joe. I respect it. The other thing is, I mean, Greenwood is exactly 6.2 million. So for me, I can't go there because of the formation issues. I've got 3 at the back, so I can't do anything. But if anyone else is sat in the same position as me, and they've sat with Soyuncu in their team, and they've got 4 at the back or whatever, you just go straight to Greenwood. I would ignore the captain days and just go for the potential that, I mean, we've all seen what he can do. He only has to hit 2 goals in one game, and he's probably going to beat the Burnley option over the 3. You would have thought, but you just don't know.
Yeah, that's a really good call, that as well. Because I mean, I'm quite similar. Just don't have the flexibility. But if you do have that flexibility to move positions around, replace Sionju with Greenwood, I don't know why I haven't done that before. I don't know. That's just like such a no-brainer move. But yeah, do that if you can. Definitely. So I'll have a look at my teams here. So I'll just explain them to those that are listening on the podcast version. So my 2 teams, my A team has 1 transfer left, just inside the top 500 still, 400 and something or other. Henderson, who's been doing ever so well for me. In a 3-5-2, I have Van Dijk, Alexander-Arnold, Sionju, sadly. De Bruyne, Foden, he was new in. Pulisic, he came in a couple of weeks ago. Sarr, Fernandez, and up front, Ings and Jimenez. Ings is also new in. So those ones, these were my transfer targets. I wanted to have another City. Foden is cheap and easy. Ings I wanted because I do think he's a great striker for the next time. And I was thinking I'm just going to ignore some of those game days. I'm going to have Sarr when West Ham play Watford. I wish I had Antonio in this team, which I don't have. And Ings, I just like for the duration. I've got 1 transfer left. I'm going to do something really boring, which I just described to you. Sionju, I have money in the bank. I can do Sionju to Tarkowski, captain him against Norwich, and I then have him in place against Brighton, who I'm not going to captain him against Brighton in the final game week. But I think for me that's the sensible move, because it gives me a possible 2 clean sheets, and it gives me a captain who'll get me something, and he could get me. I don't know. I don't know what he'll get me, but it's certainly better than
The
nothing.
methodical Joe play that almost puts me to sleep, but probably works out in the end. It's classic. It's classic Joe.
I could go the alternative, because other people will be watching and listening, and they were thinking, I've only got one transfer left. I've got Sionju as well. What shall I do? The other play is to say, I'm just going to have 10 players. I'm going to have 10 players, and instead of getting a guy in who might just get me 2 points each week, I'm going to replace Sionju. If you've got the flexibility, you don't have to, you can ignore Sionju, just keep him there as a red, and then you can have a look at the rest of your team, and you can have a look and see, could I bring in David Silva for the final day and captain him? Could I bring in Martial? Could I bring in, I don't know. Which, you can take your pick. High impact players are out there. Antonio. That's my A team. So B team, I was near about 4,000. I'm now at about 2,000. I've halved my rank because of one guy, Antonio. So there I made a couple of changes. Brought in Foden, brought in Antonio. I brought in Kane as well. I'm going a bit different in this one. So I've got Pope, Van Dijk, Alexander-Arnold, Baldock, De Bruyne, Antonio, Foden, Mount, Fernandes, Kane and Ings up front. I've got 3 transfers left in this one. So my push, the outside chance is the top 1,000, but I'll take anything near that. I just don't want to go down in rank. But Antonio there, 64 points, captained him because being a bit different.
Madness.
And it is madness because as they kept going in, I didn't have him in my FPL side, but hardly anyone did. But in my Sky side, I just couldn't. It was just kept going, and then it's obvious he was going to get man of the match as well. But that's an example that if you got Antonio in for your A team at home, you were pushing for higher 500. I don't know where I would be with an extra 64 points. But
yeah, insane. I mean, 64
insane.
Points is enough to completely change mini leagues, isn't it?
It's a complete mini league changer. For me, I've gone from being not very good this team to okay. So it's still
well, I think as well, given the nature of how low people's swaps are, when I look at that team, I think it's very, very well set up. I think you could make top 1K because there'll be a number of people who seem that don't have any swaps left and may already have 7, 8, 9 players in their team for the rest of the season. And that's not to add in final day rotation and whatever else we might see. So I think you could make it quite comfy. I mean, I'd love to swap positions, well, as in the team, without doubt.
I'd like my A and B team the other way around, but it's the same ranks.
Definitely. But yeah, I think I just want to touch on what you said earlier about these high impact swaps and ignoring the Soyuncu thing. I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to roll with 10 people. And I don't have Danny Ings. He is one I'm strongly considering getting in because for me, I still have Jimenez in both teams, which worked out because the other day I had him as captain when most people have got rid, and he obviously scored on, was it against Everton? I think it was. And not many other captains did anything on that day. I mean, Vardy got 1 goal, but not much else. And then Spurs and Arsenal, none of the popular players really returned. So he was good. But then when I look at the teams, the fixtures coming up, I can now have Wolves versus Burnley. So have Jimenez there and then move off of him and go to the likes of Ings, who's obviously playing Bournemouth very shortly as well, and gives me a captain on that day where at the moment I would have Lo Celso in one team because he's my only other option on that day. And then Aura, if he was to feature, is my other person. So to me, that along with looking at Man City assets and Man United assets, as we should have been doing the whole time, I think the most sensible play probably is just to get, if you haven't got him, is just to get Danny Ings because that's a great day. We obviously know about going for Golden Boot. Perhaps JWP gives penalties to him to aid him in that. He's obviously on the final day home to Sheffield United. It's a pretty good game. Sheffield United might be completely safe by then. There could be a little bit of rotation there from Sheffield United. I think that really does make sense, and I get the extra game. So that's kind of where I'm looking at the moment. The alternative to that is, I think that's definitely the play to make if you're comfortable where you are, you're high up in your mini leagues, the safe play. Yeah. However, if you don't think you can catch anyone else up without a punt, then obviously the likes of just going for whatever Man City player you see in a lineup and just bringing them in from here to the end of the season looks a pretty strong. I mean, that could easily fail. They could go off on 60 minutes and blank, which a few of the Man Cities do, or they could hit a hat trick, couldn't they? So I think in that strategy of just ignoring the captain days, hoping they fail, and going for Man City players is the alternative way. And I think picking one of those two ways is probably going to be pretty good.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I have Ings in both my sides, but if I didn't, I would prioritise him, and I would prioritise that over having 11 players, because I do think Ings is captainable, and he's also, he is a high impact player potentially, because we're talking man of the match. If a couple of goals, man of the match, there you go. And he's
just looks so good, Southampton as well. It's full of energy, haven't they?
Yeah.
So
he's looking good. And, I mean, in this team, I've got 3 transfers left. So the B team, and I think others will be in this position. We've got some questions as well. Others with a few more transfers, 3, 4, 5. Very lucky there, especially if you've got more than 5. Wow. If you've got 3 transfers left, so Antonio, Ings, and Foden were my priorities in this. Kane replaced Son. But I think, as you were saying, it's Man City and Manchester United as well. I think you've done very well with Martial. I think Martial is a good one to get in. Greenwood as well. What I like about Man City is the fact that you get to see the lineups. And what is the problem with Man City in FPL is you know who's going to play. I mean, getting the right player you think is going to score the points is half the battle, half the other side. And if you know, Sky gives us that chance to see who's playing, which is a marvellous thing. So I'm just going to say, for my remaining 3 transfers, I think I've got all captain days covered. I think Man City, for me, David Silva is a priority. I don't know where he's going to fit in. And then the other 2, I possibly might just go mad on Man City. And just be done with a bit of rotation.
Yeah, I mean, you could even argue that, let's say you get to the Man City Bournemouth lineup and De Bruyne's not starting, but David Silva is. You can just do Kevin De Bruyne out for David Silva. Brilliant. Then next week you see the lineup again. Maybe it's switched around. You just switch him back round. Exactly. You could do it that way, or you, like you say, you could just take out any midfielders you don't really like and just fill up with 4 or 5 Man City, and then hope on one day they just all start, or they all go mad, which obviously could happen.
If I see David Silva, and exactly as you were saying, if Kevin De Bruyne's not playing, him to David Silva, fine, 1 transfer down, 2 left. If I see David Silva in the final game week squad, captained, and Kevin De Bruyne is there, I'm going to make a move. I don't know, Kane out for him. I don't know. And I can use those 2 moves there. I'm just going to save them for the final day. Hopefully, that's if no one else can get a red card, please, which would be useful. Let's have a look at those fixtures that are coming up and just have a look at our captains as well. So I've got game week 50, and also we've got game week 51 in there. Game week 51 is the end. That's the final one. We know game week 51 kicks off at 4 o'clock on Sunday, 26th of July. We will know all the team sheets in 3. So this is the benefit of Sky. I will try and make sure I'm around. If I'm not, if I've got to go out, I'm going to have a frantic time on my phone somewhere trying to work this out. If I've got 1 or 2 transfers left. But yeah, looking at game week 50, we've got a couple of single game week days, and also very limited teams playing on certain days. So there's some fairly obvious captains and chances to make some ground up in the rankings here. If you've got no transfers left, it's not a problem at this stage, I don't think. Because you just go for it's your captain choices. That's where you're going to rise and fall, probably. So, yeah, just going through the fixtures then, find out who you're captaining then. So, West Ham against Watford. What are your thoughts?
Well, I don't have any West Ham. I've still got Sarr in both my teams, just literally to cover that game. Not confident at all. Would definitely not have Sarr as my captain if I was given the option. And the obvious choice is your man, Antonio, or still Bowen, who was very unlucky not to return in the other game. So, yeah, it'll be Sarr for me, unfortunately. On Saturday, the 18th of July, I'll have nobody. So these 2 days could be really, really punishing to me. Yeah. Again, I think the obvious choice here is just Pope is the obvious choice by a long way, isn't he? And then, maybe as a backup, a Burnley defender. I mean, you could argue it's Norwich's. Are they playing? That's their last home game of the season. Last home game. Yeah,
and that's it. They're down out. And what do we see? We do see a lot with these teams once they're out. You know, the pressure's off, and I don't know. Who knows? Who knows what?
Exactly. It's one of those random ones where, I mean, I certainly wouldn't be doing this at all. But if you sat with, I don't know, you've forgotten, and you've got 8 swaps left, and you may as well cover the day, then you could just look at whoever starts for Norwich in their final home game. It might be the final time they ever play in the Premier League. You just never know, do you? So there's always that. On Sunday with Bournemouth and Southampton and Spurs and Leicester, I just think Danny Ings is so far and away the best pick on that day. I mean, Spurs as well with the tragic news with Aurier, that's probably going to, you would have thought that might have affected them right through the squad. I mean, they obviously weren't playing particularly well before that, despite winning the game against Arsenal. Leicester are also in dire straits. To me, that just screams of a bit of a 0-0, that game at the moment, Spurs and Leicester, which is a shame because if we had Soyuncu, I think he probably could have got a clean sheet in that one.
I think it can go either way. I think because Kane has a great record against Leicester.
This is true. Yeah.
Soyuncu out is going to be that's going to be a problem for their defence. But at the same time, it's Mourinho. So
this is it, isn't it?
So yeah, you're right. 0-0 or
you argue that Aurier's been one of their best threats all season. And if he isn't playing, who are they going to have playing? I mean, I don't even think they've got a right back, have they, anymore? I think he's been playing because they basically don't have any other options.
No, it would be a centre back playing there probably. But yeah, it wouldn't. It would disrupt their rhythm a bit.
You would have thought. I mean, obviously, if you're sat there with Kane and you don't have Ings, then you're going to be putting the armband on Kane, aren't you? Or the likewise with Vardy or whoever. But I think Danny Ings would be the one for me, and he'll probably be my captain if I do that move. Otherwise, it will be the likes of Aurier or Lo Celso. On Monday, I think we have actually got a question about this as well, which I may as well answer now, where someone says, which is your favourite day out of all of them on this game week to have a punt with if you've got a few transfers left? So for me, I will have removed Jimenez. Jimenez at home to Palace is still an option. I don't think he's the best option here. And I actually have sent Maxim in one of my teams. So I like him for that Newcastle-Brighton game. Yeah. I think that could be quite good. But this is where I'm going to throw that random punt out. I actually really like Trossard for this game. Brighton are at home to Newcastle. They're not completely safe, whereas Newcastle probably are. Brighton have then, after this week, got a decent game in who are they playing away to Burnley. So Trossard's he's been a star pretty much all the season, but injured. He's obviously got that quality when you watch him. He looks really, really good. He's just not really come through. However, in his last 2 games, I think he's got 2 goals in his last 3 weeks or something, and started the games, which is the main thing with him. There's always been a little bit of rotation. So I would say on that day, given that there's no standout captains really, apart from probably Jimenez, if anyone's still got him, that maybe moving to the likes of Trossard and throwing the armband on him and that, I do actually really like that. Again, that is only for people absolutely looking for a punt and littered with transfers, but I really like that pick. I think he's been very good of late. Tuesday the 21st, we've obviously got Man City, and we're going to get to see the lineup. So that is an absolute no-brainer. Whoever is starting from my Man City team will be captain, whether that be Foden, De Bruyne, or if I've another option I'm weighing up rather than the Ings move is Salah to Sterling, because I think that could actually work out for me as well. So potentially I could do that. And then Wednesday, the 22nd of July, again, we get to see the Man United lineups. It's Man United at home to West Ham, and Liverpool are playing Chelsea. I think that's just a complete no-brainer. Again, Man United at home, that'll be Fernandes in the A team, and in the B team will be Martial, because every time, just to be different, and also every time Martial's at home, he just seems to be exceptionally good. Yeah,
that's why I'm not considering Martial just yet, but I could do for the final. So I could do for that match there. I'm talking in FPL there, but in Sky, I think he's definitely the home guy. Really, I'm not looking at him for the remaining games in 49, which is against Palace, I believe.
Away to Palace, He has looked incredibly sharp though when he's playing. I've never seen him playing this well, to be honest.
I saw a little bit catch one of the moments I caught in the game, the Manchester United game last night, was where he ran into the box and crossed it. Absolutely wonderful cross for Rashford, and Rashford, I thought, had scored, but hadn't. Had got into the side netting somehow. But it was one of those classic Manchester United moments. Next to Rashford was Fernandes pointing to his foot. Just beyond him was Greenwood looking. Martial had 3 options. He actually chose the correct one because Rashford was in the best place. Rashford just happened to have missed that one. But that just shows Manchester United. It shows he was completely on it, and the rest of the team were on it as well.
He's in such good. He's just in peak. You just have to watch. It's not just the fact that he's hitting hat tricks and getting points every week. Even if he wasn't doing that, just his hold-up play, everything. He just looks so on it, which has been the frustrating thing for Martial, for Man United fans, for a long time. We always know he's got this in his locker, and it's just taken. I mean, apart from when he first came to our team, when he did very, very well in his debut season, he's largely kept it sort of out of the picture, but now it's just blossoming again. There's a long may it continue. There's always the worry of Martial. He'll pick up. I mean, we don't need to worry now because we're almost at the end of the season, but there's always that worry. He'll pick up that injury and then it'll take him forever. But while he's riding this hot, it is extremely tempting to not only own him but captain him whenever he plays. To be honest, even away. I know he's been mainly doing it at home, but given his form at the moment, you wouldn't put it past him to suddenly turn it on against Palace.
And of course, Palace will be without Cahill as well. So we do have those fixtures to go. So we've got some game week 49 fixtures. I've got my captains roughly put out in pencil. For the remaining game week 49 games, we're recording this on a Tuesday. This is going out, we think, on a Wednesday. So you should be seeing this hopefully before Wednesday night's games. But at the moment, I'm thinking Pulisic or Mount, obviously, for the Chelsea game on Tuesday night. Whoever plays at City, I've got Foden and KDB, just whoever is playing, captain. And then Fernandes or Ings for the other remaining game in game week 49. But for game week 50, I'm pretty much with you there. With I've got Sarr in one team. I'm just going to have to play him for the West Ham game. Obviously, the other one I've got Antonio. Happy days, hopefully. If he can get another 4 goals. The really boring Burnley defender move is the one I'll probably go for. So a Burnley guy, Pope in the other team. Ings or Kane, I'm looking at. I think that's the big bet. Will it be 0-0? Will it be 4-4 in that one? I think I like Kane at the moment with Son up front because he's moving towards, in the last game at any rate, more 2 up front. Annoyingly, I moved out Son in my teams, but I did it to get other players in, so I haven't really lost. But nevertheless, Son, I think, and Kane will do well. Jimenez or Henderson. I think Henderson's a good bet for that tricky day where you were mentioning Trossard could be a good one. For Sheffield United against Everton, that's if you think Sheffield United are going to keep Everton at bay. Your 2 schools of thoughts there. If you think they are, then Henderson or your Sheffield United defender is probably a good captain that day. But
and probably will be heavily captained by a lot of the top 1K out of necessity.
Yeah, and so I think may go with that or Jimenez because Mrs. Jimenez is going to give birth at some point. But failing that, Richarlison. I think if you have Richarlison, don't move him out because I think he's a really good option. You never know. You just never know with him. And he does tend to pick up good tiers and man of the match hopefully. Moving on, City Fernandes, that's all it's going to be. And then the final game, we're going to talk next week a bit more about the final game and about our season in general. But yeah, City, the team sheets, makes sense to go that way. But yeah, we've had some questions as well, so we hopefully answered most of them, but let's go through them. Amra Batterman, on my last transfer, would you bring in Danny Ings? It covers the captaincy against Bournemouth that we mentioned, or load up with another Man City attacker. He already has KDB and Mahrez. My view in his case, if he's got KDB and Mahrez, then go for a Danny Ings. But if you've only got KDB, I would possibly prioritise another City player in case KDB's not playing. Don't know.
Yeah, I probably think Danny Ings is the safest play. We know outside of injury, he's probably going to start. And it's very, very safe, and he has that captain day. So I'd probably say that's the sensible one. However, I've already mentioned it depends what his goal is, or if he's looking to win mini leagues, if he's looking to, it doesn't really matter if he drops down a little bit, but he wants to go for broke, then the option is to ignore that, hope that Danny Ings doesn't do anything, and then just go for whichever City player you fancy over the next 3 who could easily outscore Ings, even if they play 2 of the 3 games, the way they're playing at the moment. It's kind of what manager are you more than anything else on those questions, I would have said.
Yeah, I think he's in a really good position having KDB and Mahrez. I went for Foden just out of budget reasons, really, and to have a backup. But KDB and Mahrez are both very, very good options.
Yeah, Danny Ings is easily the number 1 choice for me there. It's just, if you want to be that little bit more risky.
Yeah. Adam, this was the question that you answered just shortly a little while ago. Adam asks, hi, what is the best differential days to take a risk of, would you say? He's got 4 swaps left. He's in the top 500 and he wants to push on to the top 200. Okay, well, you're in a great position, Adam, transfer-wise and rank-wise there. I think as Luke was saying, I think that that particular game.
Monday the 20th of July.
Monday 20th of July. Book it in, because 6 o'clock kickoffs. You're going to know Brighton Newcastle. You're going to know there's a lot of rotation at Brighton, so it's not going to be well captained, and it is a good fixture for Brighton. Sheffield United against Everton as well. That could be good for, say, Richarlison. But yeah, I think that day, looking at that, it's going to be, people are going to captain Jimenez or Henderson, I think.
Yeah, exactly that. And also, it's like I said, if Newcastle are now pretty much safe, they've got no reason to play, and Brighton have to secure. It doesn't mean, I mean, you can want all these things all you want. Doesn't mean it's going to translate to the pitch, but you'd like to think that it might.
Yeah.
And therefore, if Trossard starts, given the way he's been playing the last couple of games, he's easily a man of the match candidate every time he takes to the pitch, because he stands out, and he scored 2 goals in his last 3, I think. So if Newcastle don't bother to turn up in that game, which I think could happen, and the way Brighton have just generally just played very well all season, haven't they? They've just been very, very unlucky in a lot of games, not been able to finish it, whereas Trossard is that kind of finisher. So I really hope that he actually gets played, because like you say, there is a little bit of rotation involved. But for me, that's easily the standout punt on that day, when everyone else will be going for a Sheffield United defender that could easily bust, or you could go for Jimenez, where Wolves have looked very, very tired. He's obviously only got that 1 in his last 3 or 4, so that could easily be a blank as well for me.
And it's the late kickoff as well, so Jimenez could be world captained that day, the late kickoff. And what happens after 6 o'clock? Suddenly there's an announcement: oh, Mrs. Jimenez has given birth and he's not going to be playing tonight. Suddenly that's a big 0 there, and that is your chance to climb up the rankings. So double celebration there. A new Jimenez on the scene, and also him not showing up. That's the possibility. Final question here. Adrian asks, with knowing the 3 remaining Man City lineup, should we just use our transfers to target them? I mean, we've answered that as well. I think it's such a gem that we're going to know these Man City lineups. So that just removes 50% of the problem of getting Man City. So load up.
If you've got all your captain days covered that you're happy with, and maybe you've left a couple out because you don't particularly want them, then that is the play now, isn't it? Every Man City lineup, bring someone in who you fancy from that lineup. I think it really is. Another one I just want to quickly touch on, which is Lamperty from Brighton.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I don't think this is a high impact swap, but he's actually £4.7 million, which is ridiculously cheap. As in, obviously, Soyuncu's only pretty much in our teams because he's 6.2 million. But Lamperty is 4.7. I'm pretty sure. I'm just checking it now to make sure I've got that right. I wouldn't be necessarily, but he's 4.7, and he's been playing obviously of late. He got a man of the match and a clean sheet only 4 games ago. He got another clean sheet versus Norwich. He's looked really good when he's actually played, and just really for him being 4.7, if you're struggling with your budget to arrange to get certain players, you could do Soyuncu to Lamperty, who then gives you that captain day as well. If you don't fancy anyone else on that day, and then with that money that it frees up, if you're looking at your team and thinking, how do I get to Sterling, how do I get to Kevin De Bruyne or whoever else, suddenly you've probably got a lot of money saved up there. So even the likes of Trent Alexander-Arnold or something to a Lamperty suddenly saves you so much money, and then you can maybe get your Sterling. So I do like that as well. That's
a really, I mean, I've only got the 1 transfer, so have you, and but for that, even if I had just one more, Soyuncu to Lamptey, getting more money and then diverting that to an upgrade in midfield or up top. That's a great move. Anyone out there with 2 or more transfers, Lamptey I think is a great move. As a Brighton fan, he's a real find. One of these players, it's like, how have we got him? I'm glad we have, and he is a man of the match contender as well. He's definitely playing. I would be considering if I had more transfers. Definitely, that's a really good shout. Meanwhile, just to say thanks so much for listening and watching, everyone. We're going to be back next week ahead of the final game week of the season. So we've got game week 51 up on our screen at the moment, but we'll go into those fixtures in more detail, because it's going to be all about how to use that remaining transfers if you're lucky enough to have any left, but also about the captaincy, because that could be crucial, especially if we're thinking man of the match awards for a certain magical Man City midfielder. But for now, Luke, thanks so much for joining me.
Thanks a lot, Joe. Catch you on the next one.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.